Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me once again to some 3D shenanigans. I can't quite believe that this is already the 30th episode of season 2. That's quite dramatic considering I've only started this year and it's now the end of February. So that's almost like I'm averaging 15 streams a month. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Awesome stuff. I must apologize. I have a bit of a cold. I was this close to canceling the stream, but I was thinking, no. I need this thumbnail for my new series called Streaming 101. And I thought maybe I can cobble something together based on the OBS logo animation that we did before that. I'm trying to get a similar look as to what I've done on the DAS Studio 101 series. And I'm hoping to finish that today because I've got several episodes to go on. I just like to post them and I like to have everything, rocking and rolling. Thank you so much for joining. Brian and Joe and Rod and Julia is here with me. She's playing Fortnite right now. She's leveling up. It's one of those things. And it is not the coronavirus. No, thank you for asking. I mean, I hope it isn't. You never know. It's one of those things. We just have to wait and see, I guess. I'll die live on camera. No, I hope I won't. So let's hope it's not the coronavirus. And of course, thank you so much for dropping by, everyone on YouTube and everyone who's watching this stream as a pre-record. I would... Oh, that's a shame. What a shame. What is it about the sound that's not working out for you, Joe? Let me know. I'll see if I can fix it. First of all, quick recap of what we did there last week. I've had Carrara render some bits and bobs for that underwater animation that we've made there. And I believe I've come up with more or less a final version. I mean, there's a couple of things, there's a couple of black frames in there, like that one. I don't know where that came from. So I'll have to take a look at that. But yes, Carraro's busy. Fish Swarm is in there. I like that effect. This is now a 60 frame a second animation. So I've cranked up the resolution, or the frame rate rather, and it just makes the whole thing appear a little bit more smooth. Let's watch this one more time. There's a few things that I've amended there to get that result that we see here today. So the first thing is, and I believe Steampunk Belladonna has suggested that, Julia was annoyed by that as well, and I was annoyed by that as well, is the dark shadow around the ball. And that was caused by the fact that the ball was too far in the water, and that essentially the dome of the ball, the widest part of the ball, was already underwater, and hence that little ring around it was creating a dark shadow. You can still see it here on the bottom, but it's much less than it was before. Okay, that's interesting. Sounds good in rainy New Jersey. Sorry to hear the rain there, Brian. One of those things. At least it's not snow. And I'm glad to hear it's working for you, Rod. Maybe just refresh the browser, Joe. That sometimes helps. Yeah, so that's one thing I've done. I've also amended, I believe, the speed of the logo a little bit. I made that slightly slower so that just the logo is on screen longer. The duck, I really like the duck, and I've tried a bunch of ducks and that was really not working out for me. So I abandoned the duck idea and I replaced them with the second fish swarm, which was actually more difficult than I thought, but it lends itself to the scene much nicer. So, that's what's happened. I hope you like it, and it'll go into my holding loop as soon as I get a chance to compile it, perhaps with another animation. Speaking of another animation being compiled, there is one. It's the one that I've made for Steve. Hope he can join us later. Steve's going to stream on Friday, which is nice. So that's only 2 more days, and then Steve will be on probably after me. It's going to be great. Then we have like a back-to-back streaming experience. What was I going to do? Oh yes, let's have a quick look. I have one of my render nodes rendering that animation that I've made for Steve with the 3D Shenanigans logo instead of his logo on the thing. And every so often I do pop in and have a look how long that computer's been rendering. And look at that. It's been rendering for 5 days, 4 hours and 57 minutes. And he's only done 879 frames so far. Dun, 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 dun. That's the power of the GTX 970 there for you. So whereas this computer on the RTX 2080 can render one of those frames in about 4 minutes. I've cranked up the iterations a little bit. 4 minutes on this computer with the RTX 2080 takes about 16 minutes on my GTX 970. But it's, you know, it's one of those things. Oh, it's back to normal. That's good to hear. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. Yeah, so my computer's been rendering that long, and every so often when this isn't busy, I'm supporting, you know, making 100 frames, 200 frames overnight, and then, you know, at the end we'll be able to compile that. I've cranked up the iterations on this, and I've also added 60 frame mode to this. So I'm rendering twice as many frames. Each frame takes longer to render than the previous one. That's how we roll, and hopefully the outcome is going to be awesome. And once that's done, I can recompile my intro sequence. There we go. That's on that computer behind me, and we're going to leave him alone. So what I'd like to do today, and I hope it's going to work, is I believe in this folder here. Yes, this is a Blender animation that we started, and I'd like for this to become the YouTube thumbnail for the series, but I'd like to add a bit of pizzazz to this. So I like the look of it, so I'm not going to change the lights. I'm going to leave everything as it is, but I would like for there to be some grass in the background, or like kind of, you know, as a replicator, kind of a grass thing going on that plane. And I'd like for there to be a little cut out here, so the grass shouldn't intersect with the logo. So I'm going to try and get a density map going, much like I did with the thumbnail for the Dash Studio 101 series. The rest will be something like grass, not green. So I'd like to keep it to gray values. That's my vision at the moment. And then I'd like for a number to be either here or there, somewhere here or there, something like that. I'm not sure yet. Now that I'm looking at it, I could probably just leave it exactly like it is. I don't even know why I want to spend more time on it. I just want to make it visually a little bit more interesting. So like we have some interestingness going on here on this here. I'd like to have something interesting happening in the foreground. And for that, I'm intending to build some grass, like gray random grass stalks. Let's see if I can remember how to do that. And then once I have a little bushel of grass, like 3 or 4 stalks of grass together, then I'd like for a replicator to put that all over this, except for here. Let's see if it works. This could go horribly wrong. Christina isn't here, so she can't help me with any Blender related issues. I hope she's doing okay. Maybe she'll join us later. But, you know, if this doesn't work, we've hung out and spent a good time together, and I'll see how long my energy lasts. If my cold is kind of getting to me, I may have to quit on you guys. Let's take a look. I've done something interesting this morning. I've installed Blender 2.82, and when I run it now, look at what I did. I followed Christina's instructions and put the 3D Shenanigans logo in the beginning here in my scene. I've added the Blender logo here myself. I wasn't quite sure about the pattern on there, but yeah, that's what it looks like now. So Blender 2.82 now starts telling me, welcome to 3D Shenanigans. That is cool, isn't it? I like that. Very cool. I've got a coffee today because I thought maybe caffeine is going to perk me up. And let's see if I can remember where that scene actually is. I've noticed something about Blender 2.82. And that is these jagged edges in the viewport, just around the lines. I'm not sure if you can see that, but if I go and zoom in really tight here, you can see these are jagged edges. And I believe the kids call that, well, they call that the absence of anti-aliasing. So anti-aliasing will minimize those and smooth them out. Maybe it's the way this is selected. Yeah, so if this is not selected, the edges aren't actually there, but the moment I do select the cube, the edges come in. And it wasn't like that in Blender 2.81, so I think that might be a bug. I don't know who to talk to, so I'm gonna just, you know, I'm just gonna live with it, I guess. Or go back to, if I find it too annoying, I'm gonna go back to Blender 2.81A, perhaps. It's a little cumbersome to get going, Rod, but it is essentially, it is exactly how Christina has described it. It's fairly easy to do, and when you put the splash screen in, and there it is, Girls from TNA. Blender isn't part of the splash screen; you have to add that yourself, and this version number comes in automatically. I might actually make this available as a theme on Patreon. I don't know how to zip that up, but I think it's possible. And the magic then is that you have a new, what are they called again? Application template, I believe that's what it is. So now I have 3D Shenanigans, which is a copy of General, but it supplies its own splash screen. That's how that works. I'll link to Christina's video in the description. If one of you have it, drop it in the chat, then we can memorize it forever, like burn it on the screen. I appreciate your concern, Joe. But so a good old-fashioned paracetamol will keep me going. I wouldn't do it if I didn't feel up to it. So, thank you. Let me go and open our file there, which was under. And also, we haven't seen each other for such a long time, Joe. What am I gonna? How am I gonna? I can't just not show up when we said Wednesday 5 o'clock. That's just how I roll. Let me go and open the latest version of what we had here, OBS logo V4, and we'll see what that looks like. If it actually works in Blender 2.82, I would imagine it does. This was the animation, was it not? Yes, look at that. That was the animation, and I believe we have two cameras in here. One's the stills camera, and one is the regular camera. So what happens if I press 0? 0 shows us this camera, which is in fact the animated camera. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go to my stills camera here and make that the active camera, so that is in fact the active camera. I hope it's going to look good. I always forget where that is. It's under view. There we go. That's it. View, cameras, set active object as camera, and you have to select the thing you want to be the camera for that. There we go. So that's that. That's cool. That can be my stills camera, and it is not animating, so it's safe from animation. I can just park this thing on frame 0 and then just be done with it. So the plane here, that just for my understanding of that, is what we want to probably grow grass on. It might even be too big for the whole scene, because we probably don't need the whole plane for that. So I might make one that is just the grass plane, and we can then resize that depending on how much grass we need. So I don't want to have too much grass there. Just want to have a little bit of grass. That's the idea. Rod, have you bought a webcam yet? Because I had thoughts that we should try this thing out between you and me and do this little interview, just a test, not something that would record, but something like a test to see what it looks like. As if either you or me have the time for things like that, but hey, we'd like to dream, don't we? I'm going to rename that and call it. It'll have to be something memorable, like bottom plane. That's not memorable. A plane that describes that this is in fact not the grass plane. How about infinite plane? There we go. That's the infinite plane. I'd like to make a new collection and put some of these things into their right places, like lights and camera. I'm going to put that together. I'll create a new collection. See, this is what happens sometimes. When I create a collection while I'm selecting a collection, that collection goes inside the collection. Does that make sense? Let me go and delete those collections if I can. I'd love to just move them out. I just have no idea how to do that. Can I do that? No. Can I do that? Yes. Oh, that works. Oh my God. I just drag it onto scene collection and then they move out. That's fantastic. How do I remove? There we go. That's how we remove them. So I'm going to call this one my elements, my scene elements. It's like the scene building blocks, objects perhaps. Let's call it objects, and I'll call this one here. Lights and camera. Just so that I remember what's in these things, and then I'll move some of these bits and pieces around. Lights and camera. So I'll go into here and the animated camera. I don't know if I can select multiple ones. Let's try that. The animated camera, the front light, the infinite plane I'll leave there, large cylinder, the lights, and the stills camera. Press M and put them into lights and camera. Has that worked? Yes, it has. Perfect. So we've got the infinite plane, the large cylinder. So that's actually the OBS logo. The material preview dummy we can ignore, and the small cylinder we can also ignore. That's perfect. They're invisible. And these are now the animated camera, front light, rim light, stills camera. Great. Okay, so I'll go and I guess I could duplicate this plane and then shrink it, make it a bit smaller. Or I can create a brand new plane and then just size that up to see what comes of it. I might just do that. I might just go and create a brand new plane. Do you know, Rod, that might be perfect. Yeah, it's literally the shots I'm looking for, just to describe the scene to you a little bit. I can tape, in a virtual sense. I can tape your Skype phone call in full screen, so you have a one webcam showing you in full screen, and I can record that at my end. And I'd like you to record a second camera, like your DSLR, from an over-the-shoulder point of view that kind of shows you from behind in your lair with me on the monitor. And that'll be 2 cameras from you. I'll record the same here at my end, one full screen from me and one kind of over the shoulder from here. And that means I've got 4 cameras that I can switch in between to make the visual experience a bit more interesting. And so the one that you're recording at your end, I can't see, the over the shoulder, and the one that shows you in full screen, I will be able to see, and that's the one we use for the phone call via Skype or something. Skype or Discord. We'll work something out. But yeah, let's test it. If you have an El Cheapo one, that might absolutely be fine. I mean, everyone's raving about the Logitech cameras, and sometimes they're just, cheaper ones do very well. I believe Steve bought one for $20 in Australia, and that worked really well. I don't know, Joe. It's I was wondering that as well. It's I'm kind of I'm concerned. At least it's us together, so that's good. Let me go and make a new plane here in the 3D center, and I could probably do with a second viewport open now. This one doesn't have to be that high. We're getting a bit of Z fighting here, bzz, 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 bzz. But that's also okay. I just gonna move that up just a little bit. I just don't want that to intersect. We're not going to show that plane. It's just going to be for that. That's in the wrong collection. In fact, maybe I'll make another collection. Let's create one that is the replicator, I'll call it. So anything in here will be the replicated stuff, and that's the first thing I'm going to go and move into the replicator thing. So I can close that. This plane is going to be the grass plane, just so that I don't forget. I'll go and switch to my camera, and I just want to see where I need to put that plane and how large it needs to be so that it's kind of all framed up correctly. So I'll go and use the GY command and maybe GX there, and all we need to do now is just scale it up a little bit so that it's kind of going into infinity. Like, it doesn't even have to be that big. GY to kind of go to, yeah, maybe just a little bit more. GY there. Just so that it fills this frame up here and down here, so that I don't see anything other than that grass plane there. That's, oh, I can do G and X to make sure that top corner isn't there anymore either. Okay, that should do the trick. That should do the trick. I believe Control A will apply the scale. I hear that's important. And I'll go and, in fact, collapse my, I don't want to completely close it, I'll just collapse my timeline because I don't need it anymore. That's what I'm telling myself. I don't think I can, cows. Cows don't cream. I don't think I'll do that. Oh, and the Streamlabs bot has totally got you for that. Unbelievable. Thanks for joining anyway. And instead of what you just said, I'm going to make a bit of grass, I believe. Domit123, how you doing? Good to see you. I will see if I can hide everything except for my grass plane. And I'm not great at modeling anything. But oh, I've hidden that incidentally. There we go. But I will give it a go. In fact, I can probably hide this as well and start with a tiny, kind of a tiny cylinder. Actually, a cone probably. Maybe I'll use a cone for that. Cylinder. Okay, no, maybe I'll use a cone. And that has too many faces, so vertices maybe more closer to 6. That's probably enough. It's going to be really low poly, that thing. And we don't need the bottom face. So base fill, I can say nothing. That's just that. And the radius number 1 can also be maybe much slimmer than that, like that. That is that. So I'm going to go move that up to about here. So I'd like for that to be, whoops, in the, just growing into the floor a little bit. And probably scale the whole thing down as well. So let's try this in edit mode. I'll use edge selection. There, so that it's kind of becoming a stalk of grass here. And I'll put a couple of edge loops in here and then I'll just tweak them. It might be, no, it's going to be a stalk of grass eventually. It's a bit too thin and lithe, I think, for a KKK hat, isn't it? But hey, I'm just noodling around. I don't really know that much about modeling, / nothing, actually. I believe Control R will somehow sort us out. Oh, I need to click Enter, don't I? So Control R. That should put some loop cuts in there. But somehow it's not working. No, it's totally not working. Maybe I'll try something else then. Maybe I'll go and lift the bottom face up and then just go and extrude. That might actually be a better way to get what I want there. Oh, so I lift that up to here. Whoops, what's happened here? Oh, so E, and then I can go and do that. Probably rotate this. E further like that. also rotate that like so. So there's just a bit of variation in there. And then scale it up a bit. Hey, cows don't cream. I think I'm gonna go ban you. Is that okay with you? It's gonna be okay with me. Thanks for dropping by, you know. How do I do that again? Is it, how do I do just ban it, or I'm just gonna go and do I do that via your username? It's an interesting exercise for me. Cows don't cream. Thanks for dropping by. I hope I did it correctly. I usually have moderators for that, but they're not here today. Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe I'll start this again. Thank you, Brian. Good riddance, I say. I might actually be better off just starting the whole thing by modeling. So rather than it starting out as a cylinder, I might just start with a circle and then start with the circle on the bottom and then just go and extrude that out like that. I think I'm going to do that. I might do that. Thank you for letting me know, guys. I very much appreciate that. So let's go get rid of the cone and start instead with a circle. I think that's what we do. Radius doesn't have to be quite that large. Maybe 0.2 is enough. That's even that is too large, isn't it? 0.1. That's cool. But the circle is not an object as such. So the circle is now, whoops, the circle is just a shape. So I believe in order to turn that into an object that we can model, I think I have to convert this to mesh. There we go. Domit123, shall we ban you as well? I think that's a great idea. Shall we do that as well? Let's do it. Thank you for calling me Big Daddy. I love it. But maybe, you know, it's just, we're just not a bunch of 12-year-olds. Sorry about that. Let me try that again. So ban Domit123. Hey, goodbye. Oh no, I didn't do that. Oh, okay. Look at that. Let me just try that again. Ban Domit123. The user you're trying to ban doesn't exist. Oh, is it the capital I? Sorry. Let me try that again. No, that also doesn't work. Is it DOMLT123? No, for some reason right click doesn't work. I've tried that before. Oh, there we go. Block. That's a good idea. I can block you. That's good. I can also report you. That's also cool. There. Nice. There we go. I know. Maybe I need to make more of you mods. Steve's a mod and Christina's a mod. They're not here. Julia has a mod, but she's busy playing Fortnite. Hey, we can sort this out. We can keep this chat clean. I'm sure we can. I'm sure we can. Now, where was I? Grass stalk. There we go. That's where I was. So convert, don't keep the original, and mesh from curve. And all I do is click that. Is that, whoops, click that. He does not give up, does he? Curve from mesh from that. Come on. Is that has that done it now? Yes, it has. The only thing with this now is that it has too many vertices. Man, I just don't know how to do this. Maybe I need to start instead with a small cylinder instead of a circle. Maybe that'll work better. And you know, they're just coming from everywhere. I mean, I'm hoping I'm not going to get bombed by this. I've heard stories by people who go and they have 200 viewers all of a sudden, but none of them are actual people. So they're all just bots, and it's all just crazy what happens there, or what can happen there. So I just sincerely hope that's not going to happen here. So I'm going to do that, and cap fill, I'm going to have nothing. So then it's basically empty on either side. That's my plan here. And the size of it, well, we're going to worry about that later. I think this is what I want. It's like very low poly, and now I can go into edit mode, and first of all, I guess I'll select all of these things, drag them up. This is now the bottom of the grass stalk, so it's kind of sunk into the bottom floor there a little bit. And now I'll go and extrude the top edge further and further and just put a bit of variation in there. And I guess I'll do that 2 or 3 times, and that's a bushel of grass. That's how I'm envisioning it. So let's try this. I believe Alt click this edge. Yes, there we go. That selects that. That's perfect. The grass is long and thin, so I'll try and zoom out here a little bit. Start like that. So that's just moving it up a bit. I'm going to click E and hit return. And then I can rotate around the X a little bit. Extrusion now puts a bit of puts added geometry in there that I can now pull up, slightly turn, and I think I also want to use local tools for that. So it looks like, I'm not sure if I'm doing that. No, it's not local right now. That is still global. How am I gonna get my gizmo to obey localness? Is this it? Local, normal. Is that normal? That's abnormal. Yeah, I think normal. Yeah, so now it's kind of, now the grass is growing into another direction. That's kind of what I want. And I'll go E, return, and I'm going to go rotate that now around the Y just a tad. And then I'll go and have the grass grow further. Oh yeah, I've forgotten on the previous ones to scale it in a little bit. So I'll go and decrease the other one even further. And now I'm going to go E, click, and maybe R, just arbitrarily, and then I'll go put this up and hit S0, thereby making that a kind of a peak at the top there. And maybe just make it a bit longer. Okay, so that's a first stalk of grass. I guess I'm gonna go and hit Alt that, just make that, whoops, make that a bit smaller here. And I guess also Alt that to make that a bit smaller here, because I forgot to do that. Could also go make the bottom a little bit larger now. There. Not a masterpiece, but it is more than just a cylinder. Okay, so that's going to be stalk number 1. Stalk number 1. Okay, let's try the same thing again. Absolutely, Joe, that's what I'm thinking. This is what I want to make this the third place. This is what I believe Starbucks calls their coffee shops. And it's the place, the first place is your home. The second place is your work, allegedly. And the third place, or according to Starbucks, is the place you'd like to come if you're not at home or at work. And it's supposed to be a safe place to hang out and chill and feel safe. And if there's knobs about, then we'll just kick them out. That's, you know, that's how we can deal with that. Yes, we don't stand for that. I'm very happy for new people to drop by, but if they're idiots, then of course we need to show them the door sooner rather than later. I'll move this slightly further over. So right now it's in the dead center in the middle. So we go G, Shift, Z, and I'll just put that guy here. I'll start again the same way with a new cylinder, which hopefully remembers the same dimensions as the previous one. I believe it does. And that guy is now... That looks like he's already got some... This is already crooked here. I'm not sure why. No, that's something I haven't quite figured out about Blender, because I'm thinking if this is local now, I would imagine local to the selection. So I'll see what I can do here. So I'll move this up again, dunk it into the ground a little bit, and then I'll hit A and Alt click the top edge here and just move that up. This time in the local direction, and hopefully I won't forget to scale it this time. Let's go and do that now. Already scale that in a bit. I can try and do this freehand just by going E. Oh yeah, see, this is kind of mega crooked, so that's probably not recommended to do it that way. So I'll go and just go E. E click and move it up a bit, scale it down a bit, rotate it around the Y a bit, and maybe the X. Let's be cool. And now it looks like it's already pointing up again, not really local. So it's not local to the selection. That's what I don't quite understand. I'm imagining that if it's local, it should be local to the selection, which is kind of pointing this way now. So I don't know, maybe gimbal. Does gimbal work? No, gimbal doesn't work. View is, that's crazy. No, that's not what I'm looking for. View is not what I'm looking for. Well, global is also not what I'm looking for, really. Maybe normal was the way to go then. Yeah, let's do normal and just move it along the Y. I see, that's not what we want. That's this one's going really crooked, but that's okay. I can't decide. I think I'm gonna stick with local. And then we'll maybe make one more extrusion. Yeah, maybe make him more crooked. E, go up to maybe here, and S0, S0. There we go. Perhaps even make him higher like that. There. I'll make one more, and then we can duplicate some of these and turn them into different ways, and that'll add more variation. Yes, have some coffee. Very good idea, Rod. Yes, come out of edit mode, go G, Shift Z, and put you over here. And then we'll start again, Shift A, and make another circle, cylinder. Move it up a tad. Deselect everything, Shift, select the top thing, and extrude that up. I'll try and make this one a bit curlier. I'm sure there's a shortcut for that. I'm just not into modeling really at all, sadly. It's one of those things. I would love to know more about this. How about cursor? Does cursor work now? Yeah, normal is, I guess, is the way to go. Yeah, that's just growing too wild, man. S0, so it's just a bit, you know, it's just a bit of a smaller one. I forgot to scale this guy down. Oops. Oi, ay caramba. Yeah, that should do it. That should do it. So now we have 3. So we have stalk 1. This is going to be stalk 2, and this is going to be stalk 3. And since they're all together, I'm going to go and duplicate them all. Shift D and click. Now I'm going to say G, Shift Z, and just offset them like that. Rotate them around the Z a bit, and I'm going to go and scale them down a bit. There. So now we have, you know, more grass stalks here. I might even go and mess with the endpoints or some of the in-between points here. Like, let's say this guy here. Oops. That was the wrong edge loop. Yeah, like that. So I can go and maybe make him a little bit more crooked like that. There, just put more variation in there. That's one copy. And the next guy, this guy, see what we can do here. Whoa, there's an extra geometric step in here, so that's not a good one to use for that. There. And I think that's enough variation. I think this guy here, this looks a bit too straight, so I'm going to try and make him less straight as well. With, whoops, yes, that. Chunky stalk. There. How about it? Mr. Batsu, very good to see you. How you doing, my friend? I'm so glad we caught up on YouTube the other day. That's very nice to see you. Glad you could make it on Twitch, where currently I'm trying to stream about 2-3 days a week, 3-4 days a week. It's very nice. It's been very nice. There, this is the whole bushel of grass thing now. I'm going to leave the names as they are. I don't think they're that important for what I'm doing, but what is important is to save, of course. That's very, very important. Mr. Batsu, that is so nice of you. Thank you so much for your subscription. That is awesome. Woohoo! I appreciate it. That is really nice. Thank you. That whole subscription thing on Twitch, that is all so new to me. It is very cool though. I'm really loving it. It's nice. I'm getting more interaction with Twitch than when I had Twitch as a multi-stream destination. It looks like it. I don't know. It feels more. It just feels nicer to do this directly to Twitch. And also from a technical perspective, it's just more stable than Restream was. I mean, I guess Restream was the middleman that relays a signal. And if there's a problem on my way from me to Restream, then the error is on all the distributed signals. Yes, but one of those things. There we go. I'm glad. I'm glad we could get you back in, and every little helps. Then yeah, now you're a dual supporter. How am I going to give you dual credits? I can give you credit as Dreamlab and as Mr. Batsu. How's that? I can do that. I'm trying to grow grass on a landscape that that we've set up. So this is just the grass that needs to be a little bit smaller, and it needs to also be distributed over a grass plane. So I think I'm going to go and turn all these grass guys into one object. I believe Control J is what I'm looking for. I'll call this bushel. Is that how you spell bushel? Or is bushel with double L? Is it with one L? Bushel, I think it's with one L, like in a grass bushel. And I'm also going to put that into the replicator collection. And I guess I'm gonna see to it that perhaps the origin should be perhaps at the 3D cursor. I think I'll try and do that. I don't really know how to do that. Set origin, there we go, to 3D cursor, perfect. Then that's here now. Now before I forget, I'll go and turn this back into local mode, the gizmo thing, or even into global mode. Yeah, global mode is good. So now if I scale this thing, it scales from the origin point. So that's good to know. Let's switch on our other objects here and have a look what this thing would look like in the scene. So for grass, this is a little bit large still. Let's go and make that smaller. So something like that. That could be like 1 bushel of grass here. That in situ. This is a thumbnail, by the way, for my new Streaming 101 series. I've got about 7 episodes kind of ready to go, and I want to release it with proper thumbnails. And this is an animation that I'm using in there every once in a while. And I'd like for this to look a little bit like the DAZ Studio 101 series. So it's nothing dramatic, just a bit more variation here rather than a gray background. But I'd like to stick with the gray, black, and white values. So perhaps I'm gonna try that with grass, just so that there's a little bit growing. This might look terrible. I just thought I'd give it a go. I wonder even if the grass should be taller. So at that point we could go S and Z, and then we just make it taller like that. But I don't know what that's gonna look like. We can do that later, I guess. I'll go and turn it into the regular grass that I've had there. And now, of course, comes the crazy part. Let me just go and save this one more time. Now comes the part I'm not sure if I can remember that. How to turn this into a replicated object so it grows like 1,000 times over our grass plane. Here's our grass plane. I might give that a color just so that it's not burning our retinas out. So we leave the grass plane dark. And we leave the grass white for now, just to get an impression of the distribution and all. First hurdle, how do we do that? Grass plane, create a new material, make grass undergrowth, maybe, is that a good word? Let's do that. And base color, I'll make that like that. Yeah, that's good. Let's do that. The grass, I'm not going to use a material for. Where do I even begin? Christina, how you doing? Good to see you. And look, Mr. Batsu is here, and Rod and Brian and Joe are here. That's very cool. And I had to ban 2 evil dudes earlier. So luckily, I remember how to do it. I'm trying to set up a replicator here with a little bushel of grass that I have just grown myself from cylinders. And I'm trying to grow that, much like in the DAZ Studio 101 thumbnail, around the OBS logo this time. I suppose the first thing I'll do is I'll go and move this out of vision because it doesn't have to be part of the scene. So I'll just go and move that out of vision, kind of over here. And I will go and select my grass plane and somehow add a physics thing, not a physics thing, like a replicator thing to it. I just can't remember where to do that. Was that here? No, was that here? Object constraint? No, that wasn't it either. Was that it? It had something to do with the hair thing. Oh, I know what I can do. I can go and look at my own website and have a look for Blender replicator. Using a density map with the Blender particle emitter. Particle emitter, that's what it was called. That's for Blender 2.79. Replicating an object with Blender's particle emitter, that could come in handy. It's also for Blender 2.79, but it might give me growing grass on a landscape in Blender. There we go. It might give me just the memory jogs that I need to do that. Oh, that's the podcast, so that's probably not what we need. That's also the podcast, that's also not what we need. Could be how to grow grass. That was probably the written article from 2016. Look at that. This is all the stuff that's possible with Blender. And this is exactly how the same approach that I took on here. My grass back then looked a bit better. The particle replicator. So it's this thing here, particle system. Particle system. Is it this? No. Was it this? Is it this? Particle system. There we go. Haha. It's a modifier. Settings can be found inside the particle context. What might that mean? Oh, there we go. That's the context. Gotcha. Oh, Steve, hello, hello. I nearly missed you there. Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend, and good morning, shall I say. I'm looking forward to your stream on Friday. Mr. Batsu, did you know that Steve is also streaming now live from Down Under? Next show's Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'd be after me. It'd be good. It'd be like a double bill. If you can make it, please join us. I'll leave the defaults, seed and end and all that, but there were so many other things that I needed to set here. I believe rotation we want. And I believe I need to set this to hair, even though hair is not what I want. But that's cool. We can replace the hair thing with something. Source faces jittered. See if I can remember it. This is always the nicest thing, to try and remember how this works. And if I can't, then I'll go and check my notes. Hair shape children. I mean, the thing has changed now since Blender 2.79. Render as path object. That's what we want to do. Render as object. And then I guess we need to pick the object, which is our bushel of grass. That's the idea. Bushel. Boom. That looks interesting. I remember that the rotation was always wrong. Rotation and scale is indeed wrong, so the grass is lying flat. Perhaps object rotation is not doing that. Object scale. Ooh, there we go. That's interesting. That grass might be larger. We can rotate this elsewhere. I do remember that. I don't really know why we need to tick any of these things. I might just leave these things unticked and then go and try and adjust the rotation in the other place that I can also not quite remember. Extras. It's not for particles, we're not dealing with animated particles. Viewport display, vertex group, so this is for the density map. That'll come in handy later. Textures, custom properties. There, oh yeah, there we go. This was the box I forgot to tick, advanced. When we do that, we get more options, as if we need any more options in this over-cluttered menu. Forces, physics, rotation, there we go. Right, rotation. And we're going to set that to maybe global Z. No, excellent. That's not good. Global Y. Global Y makes them stand up. That's all I need to know. Perfect. Good stuff. So that makes them all stand up in the right way. Whew. My mind is already spinning, and I feel like I've barely begun. Christina, how are you doing tonight? So good to see you. I've found something. I've downloaded Blender 2.82 this morning, and look what I've done. You're gonna appreciate that. Haha! New splash screen thanks to your video. I followed the instructions, and it's just awesome to start Blender with my personal choice of splash screens in there. So I appreciate your video there. Very nice, nicely done, easy to follow. And now I've got my own 3D Shenanigans open when Blender opens. So very cool. There's something, Christina, while we're on the subject of Blender 2.82, there's something I've noticed, and that's that the lines here, the outlines, they have jagged edges now, so they don't anti-alias anymore. I don't know if you can see that. No, you can't see that. In the default cube scene, you can just about make it out. In Blender 2.81, this line was smooth, and now it no longer is anti-aliased properly. I just thought I'd let you know. It doesn't. The outlines don't look pretty anymore. Don't know if you've noticed that, or do you know if that is something we can change? We can change. Let me know. There, so we need more grass distribution when we look through our camera. So I guess the number of objects we can go and increase to 10,000. Perhaps that's too much, but maybe like 3,000. This might be a little bit sporadic, but we can tweak this with the density shader. So the density map is something I have to go and paint in, and then I can assign a denser grass here where we're looking at this closer, and less grass where we're not looking that close anymore. So maybe like 5,000 might be cool. Seed is something that will redistribute the amount of hairs. So the amount of hairs will stay the same, but the random seed will change with that. It doesn't really matter where I leave mine. It's just if you switch through this and you find a distribution that's more pleasing to begin with, you can use that. That's that's what that's for. What I like to do before I do the density map, I like to have a look at the randomness of the grass. So right now, each bushel of grass is being replicated in exactly the same shape. There's no random rotation or random scale applied, and I like to do that now. I believe random rotation is here. So that goes left and right. I believe there's also random phase. I can go and move that further left or right. I think there's also randomized phase. But it may, with grass, it might just be a little bit overkill. So I might just go and leave those as they were, like 0 and 0 on the face, and just randomize the crookedness of the grass. I do remember that Carrara also has a random size thing going. I don't know if, I'm sure Blender has it, I just don't know where that is. I remember rotation. A random order. Velocity, that's not it. Hair dynamics, we're not dealing with that. rotation, render, object, extras, but that's all, we don't need that. Hair shape, weight maps. I don't remember if there's random size. Angular velocity. Ooh, what does that do? That, oh, that's for animations, isn't it? Yeah, we're not dealing with that. This is for, so the particle emitter is a hugely powerful system, and you can use it to generate something like a fountain, for example. And in that case, you're dealing with particles that are being born over a certain period of time and then last so long, and then they die, and then something happens on birth and death and in between. And we're not using that for animations, but that's what these things are for, I would imagine. I've not been able to deal with that in Blender yet. Yeah, I don't think I can see anything in regards to random size. Maybe I'll just go leave it like that and see if I can. Well, let's go and save this thing, logo v6, and see if we can get to work on that density map, which I've of course forgotten how to do that. So I'm gonna have to go and check my notes here. Or maybe my notes have something about the size. Oh, there we go, in physics. Haha, physics. To change the size of our grass clumps, head over to physics. For some reason, the size of the replicated object is not the same as the one we've modeled. So here's a way to change it under size. This is also the place to add some random sizing to the grass. Physics. Thank you, Jay. Very nice of you to take the time and document this stuff. Newtonian forces deflection. Ah, that's changed, hasn't it? So we need Newtonian, and there was size and random size. Deflection, forces. It looks like that's not there anymore. How about none? Does that? Oh my goodness, that wasn't good. Let's put it back to Newtonian. No, there's only mass here. Dreamlab Studio, welcome! How exciting! That was fast. I didn't know you could change that. You could change it so fast. That's amazing. How did you do that? Was that's on Twitch, I suppose? In the Twitch app, got you. Oh, how exciting! Well, welcome twice. I must say, I do like both Mr. Batsu and Dreamlab Studio. I like both. How interesting. Twitch are weird sometimes, aren't they? I constantly get things sent on my phone to say, we've noticed you're logging in from another computer. Security code and all that, so they do take that very seriously. Interesting that there's that size option is gone away. I'm sure it's still somewhere, but it's no longer under physics and Newtonian. I guess we'll leave it the same size. Replicating more than one object, that's also cool. Replicating using density or distribution maps. Come on, let's do this. Select the landscape and switch from object mode to weight paint mode. It'll turn the landscape blue and your cursor into a brush icon. Hit T to open the tools panel on the right and investigate the options. Paint onto the landscape and see its color change. Blue means no objects will be replicated. Red means the highest density will be replicated here. Green and yellow are in between values. Okay. Sounds simple until you try it. I see. So Dreamlab Studio is like, that's the serious account. I like it. I like it. So we've saved this. Let's go save it again, because I know myself. I do tend to screw things up. Let's try not to do that. What did he just say? He said, oh yes, object mode to weight paint mode. So that's up here, I believe. Select the plane, grass plane selected, yes. Object mode to weight paint mode. Doesn't have the same color as before. So if I go and start painting here, nothing happens. T to bring up the tool things. I guess it already has the highest density of replication applied, maybe? Is that possible? I like it, I like it. Smack Talk 3D, that sounds good. Paint onto the landscape and see its color change. Stumped right there. I ain't seen no color change, y'all. Yes, that's a shame, isn't it? View, select, and weights. Oh, normalize all. Mirror, invert, clean. Levels. This is the brush, I guess, and it's the draw. Smear, gradient, sample weight. Oh, let's do gradient. Let's try that. Has anything actually changed? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Something has changed from here to there. I like that. Well, let's try that just for a laugh. That sounds cool. Ah, thank you for being back, Christina. So our weight map has values. That's good. I just applied a gradient, but the particle system doesn't quite see the map yet. So we need to tell it that there is one. And I believe, was that under here somewhere? There's a way to, was it under vertex group? Yeah, density. There we go. Vertex group's density. I believe I just have to tell this thing that we now want to apply the map that we've just made there. So I'll go and do that, and nothing happens. That's always fun. I'm sure there's something else. Vertex group box under density. Select that group and see the results change in the viewport. Not quite the case. Yeah, but at least we're using that group. That's cool. So we can now try and... Oh, that was weight paint. I was supposed to be in vertex paint, wasn't I? That might have been my problem. No, weight paint. Weight paint. At least that was the case with Blender 2.79. Weight paint. It looks like my values aren't actually acknowledged here when I paint, so I don't know. I don't really know how to do that in Blender 2.8. Yeah, it looks like nothing is really acknowledged. Maybe strength 0, see if I can paint holes into this. No, that also doesn't work. Could make the radius bigger, but no, it looks like it's just not really hearing me. What happens when I do clean? Does that, no, it's not. Let's not do that. What happens with any of these things? No, it looks like the colors don't actually change. Do I need to grab my Wacom from the other room and wire that up? See if that works. Yes, I have the grass plane selected. So this is the plane. It's not the grass. The grass is just that's the bushel. So yeah, grass plane is selected, and it looks like nothing going. Oh, Dreamlab, is it raining up in Broward right now? It's just, Brian was saying earlier, it's raining in New Jersey, and it's just started to come down like a torrential rain down here. Change the weight and strength, says Steve. Okay, so strength, I've tried that into 0, doesn't do anything, 100 doesn't do anything. Brush type, accumulate, stroke, fall off cursor. What's blur? What does that do? Marcos! Hello, hello! The plane is in fact not subdivided, my friend. That is a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. That is a very, very good point. Let's do that right away. I like it. I'm not sure why the Z fighting even is there. I thought I had moved this up enough earlier. But let's go and do that. Subdivide. What was that command for that again? Subdivide. Subdivide. Great. Number of cuts. Well, let's give it geometry, man. Let's give it... We don't have to go overboard. Maybe number of cuts 10. That should at least give us something. Right? Was that it? Yes, it was. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, 20 centigrade, 68 degrees. That's kind of cold for us. Let's see if that works. I have a feeling we should maybe subdivide it a little bit more. Maybe just one more cut. I'm thinking. Yeah, let's do that. Boom. Okay. Thank you so much for the tip. That's very valuable. Let's go back into weight paint and see if anything does the trick. Nothing doing. Let me try 0. No, sadly not. I did apply gradient earlier. Perhaps I'll try that again, the other direction. It somehow worked last time, but it no longer does that. That's a shame. I wonder how we can go and... Oh, radial, look at that. You can have a radial gradient. Yeah, in an ideal world, yes. What is that? Average, blur, and draw. So draw, I would imagine, is what I want. But hey. Yeah, good point. Okay, let's make it 1. But the effect is the same. The strength is set to 1. Let's go make the strength something else. Yes! Oh my god, it works! Oh, that's crazy good. Thank you. Very observant, you all. Oh, I'm so sorry, Steve. I thought I was doing that, but I guess I was fiddling with the weight rather than the strength. I am an extremely simple person, I must admit. So what happens if I wanted to unpaint this then here? If I've put too much into this, well, how do I do? Is that the weight? Is that? Yes, that's the weight. Gotcha. Awesome stuff. Great. So how do we do it so that we start with one value everywhere? Like, you know, flood fill the whole thing. Thank you, Steve. You know what it's like. You're streaming and your brain goes to mush. It's just what happens. Yes. Yeah, like a flood fill the whole thing. So I can start painting this in with maybe like a... There was, I did see something there, wasn't it? I believe it's something like normalize weights. There we go. Normalize all. How's that? Does that normalize anything? No, of course not. That's maybe weights. Set weight. How about that? Is that a good idea? Yeah, that's cool. That's good, isn't it? That's now set that to that. Ah, right. So if I set this to 0.5 up here, and then I go and say weights, set weight. Yes, look at that. It goes and looks at this value up here. That is quite cool. That is quite cool. So set this value, say 0. Then we head over to weights, and then we say set weight. And that'll then set the whole thing to 0. Awesome. Or to 1. Weights, set weight. And then everything is like mega saturated. That's awesome. So I want to start at 0.5 really, because I'd like some distribution everywhere. Set weight. Didn't make a difference, but that's okay. And now I can go and start painting in my 0 values. Actually, I would like the highest distribution everywhere, don't I? I think highest distribution everywhere. So maybe I'll go and say weights 1 and set everything to the highest distribution value. And now I paint in like a lesser values there, such as, you know, something close to that. That should do the trick, right? So if I go and do that around the logo, then eventually there won't be any grass around the logo. Oh yeah, I haven't put it to 0, so there'll always be some grass, I guess. Is that kind of what I want, in a way, and make it less dense over here? Is that kind of how it works? It is working somewhat, but even with a density set to 0, there's always some grass. So that's kind of interesting. Right, so blue is low, red is high. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And now this is so cool. I thank you guys so much for all your contributions. I love the fact that Marcus's idea of, hey, subdivide the plane, and Steve's idea and Brian's idea of have you set the strength, and now we're dealing with the weights, and you know, this is all, it's kind of coming together. My past self has been involved as well. I do appreciate that. Very nice. So let's have a gander through the camera here and see, I've painted too much out of this. I like this here because we don't need the grass down here. We also don't need the grass here because that's off camera. I can go and go all nuts and wild and make sure this is kind of the demarcation line, as they'd like to call it. And I don't think I need anything beyond here either. So I can probably paint with an even higher strength here. There, and then I'll just add a bit more grass here. We don't need to worry about the back of the logo either because we don't really see that here. That's nice, that's nice. So I can go and get rid of all of this in favor of lowering the geometry count and making the grass more dense on the areas that I actually need it. So I don't need it here because that's all out of vision. Like all of this. There. So the concentration is where we want it. Now we're just going to paint more stuff back in here. Haha! I like it. So add more weights here. Strength, we're going to go to about half. And then I can go and gradually add stuff here. And in the front, I'll go make my radius a bit smaller here. This is now, I guess, also where the subdivision count comes in. The more subdivisions are in the plane, the more accurate I can paint. I guess that's how it works. That's how it works, isn't it? I killed Elvis! Welcome! Glad to see you, my friend. Ideally, I'd like to have a bit more grass in the foreground here, but I guess this is already as high as it gets. I'm thinking I'd like to subdivide the plane one more time. I have a feeling that might do my painting accuracy well around the logo. I might do that. Subdivide just, well, maybe 2 more cuts. I like it. So crank up the strength and just make all of this dense over here. Come on. I'll move the whole plane down a little bit in a moment. It's currently a bit set a bit too high, so it kind of intersects with the logo. So I'll go and come out of that, actually come into object mode. I just go set that plane down. It was intersecting a little bit with the real ground plane there. I can always go and take that infinite plane down. I'll just go and move that down a bit. It was just there for the static logo, so it's not, we don't really need to see it anymore. I can't even remove it. There we go, and that's the grass plane. So a bit more density perhaps around here, and then we'll see what this looks like as a render. I'd be interested to see what's going on there. Oh, thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate that. Yes, in fact, let's do that. Now that we've painted all this in, let me go and save this here. Oops. I'm going to try, the next project I'm going to start, I'm going to try using GitHub for versioning files like this. I'd love to try this out. It works really well for code files, but I really don't care for a directory full of files like this. Only because it's nice that I have versions, but what happened in version 5 versus version 4? I have no idea what that is, unless I'm writing myself a list. And if I use GitHub for that, like the GitHub application, not so much the hosting service, if I use GitHub for that, or Git, or any kind of version control, I can always save over the same file and then commit it on my local hard drive, even sync it with the cloud if I wanted to. So I'm going to try that out next time, just because it's something I'm interested in. Usually these files are small enough for that to work, and the good thing is that with every saving iteration I can make a comment of what's actually changed, and I can always go back to a file that I need to change. I need to look into that. So it's one of those things could be really interesting, including versioning or looking after multiple files. So, you know, you make a change in your blend file, change in 5 texture files, and there's another OBJ that you've changed, and all these changes, they could all live in one directory, and Git or GitHub could take care of all of it, and you just make a note of, you said, oh, changed the size of the texture files, updated the density map of the grass shader or whatnot. Yeah, so that is something I'm gonna try and do. We've saved it now. Let's have a look what this actually looks like in the render, or in the rendered view, shall I say. GPU compute. Oh, we're using cycles, are we? That's interesting. Let's go use Eevee for now. See what happens. Loading render kernels may take a few minutes the first time. Not so bad. Steve, I'm rendering while this thing is preparing its thing. I can totally show you this. I'm currently rendering out the Urban Future 7 animation again, this time with slightly more iterations and with my 3D Shenanigans logo in there. And also, we don't need to really have those. There we go. My computer behind me has been rendering 5 days and 6 hours already. It's the whole thing is about 2,400 frames, so he has still a bit of work to do, but hey, he's tirelessly just working in the background, rendering away a single GTX 970 card and an AMD card actually that is responsible for the display, so that the GTX 970 doesn't have to do that. It makes the rendering a bit faster. It's kind of nice. My other computer can't work with it. He only has the 2K 4000 cards, and they, for some reason, the denoiser doesn't kick in at 1920 by 1080. It's, I guess they're just too old or whatnot. Yeah. So that is happening in the background. 60 frames a second. I hope it's going to look amazing. That is what I'm hoping. But back to loading the render kernels. Steve, are you still up for streaming on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? I'm kind of ready to release this series, so I'm hoping this thumbnail, I can finish this whole thumbnail today, so that I can start, just start writing that. I just realized I need another little cutout here, another little just place for the number. That's the second thing I'd like to do today. I just carve out a little cutout here and turn that into a number so that we know like 101, 102, 103, that sort of thing. And that's the plan. So a little cutout here with a number made with metal, so it's kind of a metalish number, and then this portion at the top, that's just going to be, I'll do that in Photoshop. So it looks like we have a bit more work to do. There's got to be a bit more material that needs to go on the grass stalks here. This is intersecting, this looks a little bit sparse here, so I'd like to increase the density here. And I think maybe the overall density of the whole grass can be increased a little bit, I'm thinking. And I think also the color of the grass plane is currently it's not entirely black, so therefore once I make that black or like dark gray, the contrast is going to be a little bit better, I'm hoping. Live from down under, that is very cool. Well, let's see if we can go and crank up the number to maybe 8,000 grass bushels. It'd be so nice if they'd be different, if they could be different size. I think I'll go thin this out, just randomly put patches in here so that it doesn't look completely uniform. We can do that in this view here. This view, that view, this view. Yeah, so let's go and grab our weight painting brush again. Make this a bit denser, I guess. And there's some grass that intersects here, so I believe is weight. I set that to 0, and then this stuff will go away, hopefully. That's the plan. Yes, I see. So, and then I'll make this a bit larger and just put patches here. I don't want this to be super uniform. Oh, actually I need to put 0 here, don't I? Yeah, there we go. So not quite 0, but you know, something very low, so that this area thins out here. I'm hoping, Joe, I'm hoping. I'm not entirely sure if it looks as good as this. I think this was, or do we have a full large version of the picture? No, this is the only version I believe I have. View image, oh, there we go, that's a bit larger. Yeah, this looked very nice, I must say, and that just looked much more natural than what we're currently seeing, but then this is a final render and the other thing is not. And I guess I took a little bit more care of modeling the grass, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of my idea, to have some variation in there. Yeah, so I hope we're going to see something similar to that. I think this is still a bit dense here. I'll try and make that less dense. Maybe we'll try a render. Let me go over save this and we'll try a render. Yes, I remember that. The kind of rolling hills of Windows XP. Yes, I remember that. Let's see what our what our image size is here. Cool, let's do this in maybe like 50% or so, and say render this image. In Eevee, also not bad at all. Not bad at all. So I think we could do with, I think I'd like for the grass to be taller. So that's something I'd like to change. I like the thinned out bits, but I think maybe the grass itself could just be taller, larger, something along those lines. Let's try that out. So for that, I just go to the bushel, I believe. My grass bushel, which is where again? There it is. So if I go and just size that in the Z direction, does that do anything? Whoops. So S, Z, and just make that taller. Do all the other grass bushels also grow? No, they don't. That's a shame, isn't it? Do I need to apply that? You need to apply the scale for the other guys to get updated. I thought this would dynamically update. Let me try that by applying the scale. Does that work? Oh. Why does the replicated grass now, why is that smaller now? This is where 3D applications just don't make any sense. If I make the parent object larger, why would anything else get smaller? That makes zero sense. But hey, them's the rules, I guess. Let me go make that smaller again. Maybe it was actually working, and it's just that that most of it is kind of popping through the ground. Let me try again. So SZ, make it taller. No, that hasn't quite worked. I'm gonna try and increase the whole size, make the whole bushel larger. Control A to apply all transformations. No, of course not. Why would it be? Why would it work? It would be logical. That's interesting. Scale in edit mode. Marcos, that's a very good idea. Let's do that. I'll go and... Oh, whoa, why is the... Ah! That's interesting. I only really have one bushel to select here. And as soon as I select all the bushels get selected. That's kind of what I want. So SZ. It's growing. This is great. Let's leave that. This is now technically this is the kind of grass I had envisioned. Thank you so much for the tip. This is what works. That's really cool. What do you think? It's a bit too tall, maybe? I'll maybe make it a little bit smaller again. Okay, we'll make it smaller. But edit mode was the trick. So S, Z. Do that. Do that. Go over here. Ha ha ha. Marcos. What I really love, what I really enjoy about all our get-togethers is that it feels like a truly collaborative project every time we tackle something. And 3D is just such a nightmarish subject matter that it's really difficult to figure everything out by yourself, which is why this collaboration thing is just so cool. I really enjoy that. I'm almost happy. I think I went overboard just a little bit. I think I'm going to make it slightly shorter again. And we need to work on the materials next as well. Let's go and try like a full size render. The hive brain, that's what it is. Yes, the hive brain. Oh, also, I didn't apply a subdivision surface modifier to the grass stalk. So I guess when I do that, it'll just be nicer and finer and thinner. I think we need more density here. and then we'll look at the materials. I think I might actually change the material to the bottom to black already. And then we'll see what we can give the grass. Maybe we can give it some kind of a nice PBR metal-y type shader. Something along those lines. So I'm going to go and weight paint more density into this here, into this area. And down here, I'd like for all of that to be dense. And subdivision surface modifier, there we go. First of all, save. Like it, I like it. Yeah, that would be, yeah. Can you imagine you just get paid for this, like 50 grand a month? Can you make like 100,000 soldiers walk down the hill? Let's figure it out, shall we? Let's grab a coffee and see what we can do. That must be cool. What's not so cool is when they then come down by Friday and say, you said you could do it. And you said, yeah, I never said I did. I meant I can try. Doesn't mean it's going to work. I think that's what's getting in the way sometimes. Subdivision surface modifier. Oh. All right. I won't even apply it. I'm just going to go leave it like that and see if that made any difference. Rendering takes much longer, but the grass now doesn't look like it has the modeled edges in there anymore. Let's make that plain dark black now, like dark gray, and give the grass something like a metal type color. Grass plain, I believe we already have a material for that. Do we know? Yeah, ground. That's the one. I can just use ground for that, can't I? And that's black now. That's cool. Yes, good point, Steve. Good point. Your son knows all about it. And the bushel, that doesn't actually have a material yet. We'll just call that grass. Do I need to unwrap that? I always forget this. I don't think I do. Material library VX. That's cool. Silver planet. Oops. I do have a cold, by the way, so I might randomly sneeze and sniff into the microphone. The only thing that's keeping me together is a couple of pills. Raspberry. Pluie sur vitre. Brian, you told me what this means. Is that like rain on the windowsill or something? Molten metallic paint. Let's try that. Apply to selected. Metallic paint doesn't exist at Library Falls. That's a shame, isn't it? Why does it not exist? Is that enabled even? The material library? Material library, yes. Material utilities is currently the experimental whatnot. But material library is enabled. But I guess we don't have metallic paint. Do we have anything? How about lemon? Apply to selected. Oh yeah, lemon looks like we have. That might be nice. Yellow grass. It could be cool. Yellow and black, maybe not. I'd like to avoid any kind of color in this. I also think that the grass could be thicker. I like it to be more, thicker. I can always just scale it up, like make it thicker in edit mode, like we did with the tallness. Maybe just make it a bit thicker. I'd like to try that. Lemongrass, you know. Good stuff. S, Shift Z, make you all thicker. No, that was this. There we go. You know, on second thought, I think we just need more grass. Yeah, we just need more grass, I think. And as much as I like the idea of yellow lemongrass, I think I'd like it more to be, you know, silver. So let me go and make that, get rid of that again. There, we just go make more grass on the plane. See if that might be too much grass. See, I can barely see the difference. But I do see the repetitiveness here. So I'm not a big fan. Maybe we'll go back to 8,000 here. Yeah, we'll go back to 8,000. Let's try a different material on the grass. So metallic paint doesn't work. Something dark. Something gray. Fake shading. Facade. Let's try that. It does not exist. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this. Fake glass. That might be nice. I don't have a HDRI image in this, so I think by the time I'm trying to put a metallic kind of number in here, that might not actually reflect properly. Yeah, so that's probably why the materials don't look great, because I don't have anything like a HDRI. Let me see if I can put one in. Environment texture, I guess. And we just put that into here, I guess. And then in here, we go and put, where would I have a HDRI? Do I have any? I'm sure I do. Where though is another question. Oh yeah, I can always use the one that Dreamlab sent me for the cinema scene. If I can remember where that is. That was in here somewhere. Wasn't that called cinema animation? Cracked landscape? No, that's not it. I thought it was in here somewhere. Or I can bring one in from the Blender cloud. That's a good test as well. See if that works. Or I can just download one from the internet. There's so many options, and sometimes if you have so many options, you really don't know which one to use. So Control Alt Shift A, I believe, is that what it does it? That should open the Blender cloud thing, which sometimes works. Could be under system. Blender ID, that's part of it, isn't it? Yeah. Was it S? Pretty sure it was A. Control Shift Alt A. Not today. Okay, no problem. We'll just go somewhere else. Go to HDRI Haven for example, grab one from there. Skies, outdoor, skies. Skies? Skies. Night sky, that's already exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you, Greg Zal. Let's have that. And it doesn't have to be huge. 1K I'm super happy with. Kloppenheim. Kloppenheim in the downloads folder. And is that it? I always forget that. Yeah, look at that. That is actually it. That is actually it. That is it already. So now we can judge those materials a little bit better, I guess. So fake glass. Interesting. It has those reflections, but I don't think it's the material for me. I think we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking. On the grass bushel, on the material, fake glass facade diamond. Carbon fiber glossy, let's do that. Are we sure it's applied here? I can't really see much of a difference. To me, it looks just like the fake grass from a minute ago. Let's try car paint. Okay, aside from it being red, we can probably tweak that into something of a silvery thing. But if we just look at the quality of the material, maybe that's something we can work with. It's got a bit of a shiny thing going. I believe we'll get more reflections when we crank up the samples. Oh, maybe we can work with that. So that's how they did it. And if we just want something that's not saturated with a small sheen to it, that's kind of all we're really looking for, isn't it? Right. Oh, render slot. How exciting. Yeah, it looks like as soon as I take the color out, it's kind of gone. Render slot, where might that be? That might be, is that something people like me will understand? A render slot. I have seen it somewhere. Maybe that's another video you need to make, because that sounds like a really useful feature. It's something that I've seen somewhere, but it's not something that rings a bell. Basic glass apple juice. I don't really know what to use. How about chocolate swirl? Let's try that. That's cool. Upper right in the render view. Where's the render view? Is that when I render a picture out? Yes, good point. Yes, I haven't actually added anything. It's the basic shader that I've added on there. Ground brown, maybe I'll do that. Ground brown does not exist at Library Falls. I like that, at Library Falls. Pool water. Let me try that. Pool water does not exist at Library Falls. Chris Cox, how you doing? Thank you so much for using the rat. We need to make more emojis. I'm looking forward to your session. Is it tomorrow, Chris? And when you're making another emote for your Twitch channel? Sounds exciting. It's one of those processes that you never have to go through unless you find yourself with emote slots on your hand. So that's good. I'm struggling to put some kind of material together that looks more or less nice. Tire rubber. Come on, let's do that. Tire rubber is good. Tire rubber does not exist at Library Falls. Ah, well. Comes a point where you just go, do you know what? Black BSDF, whatever it's called, it's going to be good enough for me. Just the red thing, it just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. Maybe I will just use lemon, and then I'll just tone down the saturation a little bit. Ooh, that's the lemon shader. Very nice. Yeah, so I'll go, the only thing I'll do here is I'll go down and drop the saturation down a little bit, like by 50%. And I'll just do that in all the colors, and then I should have grass that's less saturated. Literally lemongrass. I don't know about you, but I have to say I don't like any of it. I think maybe what I will do instead is to go and literally just use this. No grass. How about that? I think maybe I'll just do that. It was nice trying it out. But the more I look at the fact that there is grass in the picture, I think I might just use this, just plain, and then I can have one of my numbers here. I can even render that without making that a proper Blender scene, and just use like a metallic type number in this area, and then there's enough room to put the text of what the episode is about up here, and perhaps, you know, maybe I'll just use that. What do you think? No problem, Steve. We'll see you on Friday at 7 p.m. after my stream. It sounds great. Looking forward to it. And Steve, I think on that note, I think I might just go as well, because I think I like the plainness of this. Considering it'll be a thumbnail about this size, there's really no point in trying to go overboard. It was a nice experiment, but it's just not working as well as I had thought. I guess this is also part of the creative process. Sometimes we're just going to have to say, hey, I'm going to have to put that in the waste paper basket and just not speak of it again. But hey, it was nice chatting to you. It was lovely getting all that input, and I shall do more exciting things with the replicator going forward. I'm not sure what I'll be doing tomorrow. I'll be back here at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me then. It'll be an interesting one. I'm not sure if it'll be more 3D or if I'll take another crack at Halo. The Pillar of Autumn has been finished, so now it's the Truth and Reconciliation is the first, what is it, the kind of alien spaceship thing where we have to go up with the black hover lift, and it's all going to be exciting. So that'll happen perhaps at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining me. Join me tomorrow. Bye-bye.